PlayStation 5 is slowly but surely filling out its library with incredible, story-driven games. These high-budget visual spectacles are more often than not action games with highly immersive worlds to explore. With so many amazing games coming out seemingly back-to-back, it's good to take a look at the platform and genre as a whole and pay tribute to the best games out there. Below, we'll take a look at a few of the best action games on PS5 that you can play right now. Swinging around New York and fighting crime as Spider-Man will never not be fun. Any of the 3 Marvel's Spider-Man games on PS5 are worth playing, even if you're not the biggest Marvel or Spider-Man fan. These games have compelling stories and characters, endlessly fun gameplay, and tons of Easter eggs to seek out, especially for invested fans of the Marvel franchise. While they are best played in release order, there's no bad place to start with Marvel's Spider-Man. Each game has its merits, and none of them are overly long or grindy, offering a short but very, very sweet time. That said, Marvel's Spider-Man 2 definitely offers the most comprehensive experience of the trio, with more to explore and the ability to play as both Peter Parker and Miles Morales. Demon's Souls for the PS5 is a complete remake of the original 2009 game, with updated graphics, design, and gameplay. While the original Demon's Souls was a spiritual successor to From Software's King's Field, Demon's Souls essentially kickstarted the Dark Souls series. Without Demon's Souls, we never would have gotten Elden Ring. If you're familiar with the general gameplay and mechanics of Dark Souls games, Demon's Souls is pretty similar. Expect a challenging but mostly fair game that punishes your mistakes but spurns you forward with the ever-looming satisfaction of defeating a boss you've died so many times to. If you're a Soulsborne fan and you haven't played Demon's Souls yet, you're in for a treat. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is a quintessential Ratchet & Clank game. As you explore the game's various planets, hopping through dimensions to save reality, you'll be able to wield an arsenal of powerful and sometimes silly weapons of mass destruction. Graphically, Rift Apart is one of the best-looking games on the PS5, utilizing the console's hardware to the best of its ability. The worlds are beautifully designed and stunning to look at, all wrapped in a fast-paced, smooth-as-butter gameplay loop that will keep you coming back for more. Returnal is a third-person roguelike shooter that has you take the role of Celine as she navigates mysterious and harrowing planets teeming with alien and supernatural life forms. Returnal will not hold your hand as you explore and make sense of your surroundings, forcing you to quickly adapt to any situation. Returnal's bullet hell action and smooth gunplay create a unique twist in the roguelike genre. When paired with its gradually unfolding story, Returnal is a truly unique experience and one definitely worth playing on the PS5. Devil May Cry and action combat are almost synonymous at this point. This classic arcade-style action RPG puts you in the shoes of 3 characters, Dante, Nero, and the mysterious V, as they attempt to stop the Demon King Urizen from rising to power. DMC5 high-end combat-centric action combat is second to none, allowing you to flex your creativity as you achieve your stylish combos. This deep combat system makes the game endlessly replayable, and the enemy and boss variety paired with a number of increased difficulty options definitely encourage replaying the story a few times, even if only to seek out and conquer the secret stages. Alternatively, you can test your skills in the Bloody Palace, taking on waves of enemies as you climb to the top. It should come as no surprise to see Final Fantasy VII Rebirth here, a sequel to 2020's remake of the original Final Fantasy VII. Rebirth improves upon Remake in a number of ways, transitioning to an open-world exploration structure that is both familiar and wholly unique. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is filled to the brim with fun, interesting content, mini-games making up no small part of its side money. The game, it's a sequel in the best sense of the word, improving on both the first remake and the original game, while presenting something new and exciting to play. Final Fantasy VII Remake is a perfect example of how to completely remake a video game with its updated retelling of the original that adds details to the story without changing things too much, and its smooth action combat. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade is great for superfans of the original and new players alike. The PS5's hardware allows for strikingly detailed environments and animations, making Midgar even more immersive. Plus, the fully voiced story gives an emotional edge over the original game. There's tons of content to explore in Final Fantasy VII Remake, and the fun, fast-paced combat makes replaying the game a joy every time. Yakuza 0 is a prequel to the Yakuza series, following Kazuma Kiryu and Goro Majima 17 years before the events of the main games. Despite being a prequel, Yakuza 0 is a great place to get into the series, as it does a great job of introducing the characters, setting themes and general gameplay that you'll grow to love throughout each subsequent game. Yakuza 0 plays like a fairly standard beat-em-up, but its wealth of content from minigames to side quests serves to flesh out the game into something special. Whether you're racing stock cars, managing your own cabaret club, or beating up thugs in the back alleys of Kamurocho, Yakuza 0 has tons to do, and that's without mentioning its amazing story and characters. Tales of Arise is an anime-style action RPG where you play as two characters, along with a few others that will join along the way, on their quest to liberate their conquered land. Tales of Arise is downright beautiful, utilizing atmospheric shaders that give the entire game a 2D animated feel. With its flashy combos and stylish gameplay, Tales of Arise truly feels like playing an anime. While the Tales series has over a dozen entries at this point, Tales of Arise can be played without any prior knowledge of the series. Path of Exile 2 is an isometric ARPG in the same vein as Diablo, but with an emphasis on slower, more methodical, skill-based gameplay. With the introduction of the dodge roll and slower overall skills and movement speed, Path of Exile 2 will invite you to challenge its dozens of bosses with strategy and skill. Back from the first Path of Exile is the massive skill tree that allows you to build your character in a near infinite number of ways. The skill gem system has also been streamlined to be more new player friendly. Path of Exile 2 is a beautiful, deep, and challenging game, and is one of the best in its genre. Armored Core 6 is an action mech game where you play as augmented humans 6 and 21 who must pilot an armored core on the planet of Rubicon. Armored Core 6 is a game that knows exactly what it wants to be. There's no fluff or filling in this game, with every mission, piece of dialogue, weapon description, and cutscene. So, as you might expect from Software, Armored Core 6 can be difficult, but overcoming its challenging boss fights is where you'll get the most enjoyment. That said, Armored Core 6's difficulty can be overcome with the right build. Most of the time, if you're dying to a boss, it's a build issue rather than a skill one. If you're a fan of action games, you need to play Armored Core. The 2023 Dead Space remake of the same name is a full remake of the original, featuring a full rebuild of all the game's systems. Dead Space follows Isaac Clarke, an engineer aboard a mining vessel that has been invaded by aliens called necromorphs. While the original Dead Space is a classic in its own right, this remake greatly improves on the atmosphere and storytelling, mainly thanks to newer technology allowing for more immersive lighting and environmental details. Even if you haven't played the original, fans of action or survival horror games have a lot to enjoy here. Helldivers 2 is a third-person multiplayer shooter where you are tasked with fighting through the most treacherous battles to secure the freedom of Super Earth. The game features a unique overarching story that develops in real time as players across the world complete objectives. Whether you're playing with friends or not, Helldivers 2's action is frantic, difficult, and a lot of fun. And he's been published online so much, he's in the circles to meet them, that he's running from hordes of massive bugs as the clock ticks down, or just barely taking down an automaton tank with your last revive. Provides feelings that you don't find too often in action video games, making Helldivers 2 a must-play in the genre. The Last of Us Part 2 continues from the first part of the story, this time following Ellie on her own journey 4 years after Joel's decision in the first game. The Last of Us Part 2 is a visual and immersive masterpiece, pulling you through its beautiful but terrifying world with its tense combat sequences and engaging story. While The Last of Us is definitely known for its story and characters, it would be a disservice to let it overshadow its stellar gameplay. Using a variety of tools and weapons, you'll have to carefully navigate through combat encounters against humans and infected alike. Astro Bot is pure joy distilled into video game form. From its incredibly charming characters and animation to its challenging but fair level design, Astro Bot will make you remember why you love playing video games. Even if you're not the biggest platforming fan, and even if you aren't the biggest PlayStation fan, Astro Bot perfectly captures the delight of playing video games, discovering new worlds, conquering challenges, and collecting everything there is to collect. This is a British-based career from Whitball to video games. And mostly, if you enjoyed the free Astro's Playroom that comes with your PS5, you will absolutely adore Astro Bot. The 2019 remake of Resident Evil 2 is perhaps one of the greatest remakes of any video game. Rebuilt from the ground up, this remake offers greatly improved visuals, audio, controls, and gameplay, all while staying true to the original game. Resident Evil 2 is an extremely immersive survival horror game with a great story and voice acting that is also improved in the remake. As one of the best games in one of the most influential series of all time, you really can't go wrong playing Resident Evil 2. Black Myth: Wukong is an action RPG based on the Journey to the West from Chinese mythology. You play as the Destined One, setting out on a journey to challenge the myths and marvels of the realm to forge your own legend. Black Myth: Wukong has some of the best graphics available on the PS5, taking full advantage of the system's power. While not strictly a Souls-like game, Black Myth: Wukong does take cues from the genre, with some difficult but fair fights that will challenge your reflexes. Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2 is a sequel to the original Space Marine, placing you back in the shoes of Dimitri and Titus as he rejoins the Ultramarines. Space Marine 2 offers visceral, non-stop action as you blast and slash your way through hordes of Tyranids. Space Marine 2 offers the power fantasy of fighting the endless alien swarm in replayable PvE and PvP modes, allowing you to craft your own Space Marine however you choose. The Warupi atmosphere. Sifu is a third-person action brawler inspired by kung fu movies, with just a hint of roguelike elements. On your quest for revenge, you'll need to master different fighting techniques, using every tool to your advantage to emerge victorious. Rather than leveling up your skills or increasing your stats, Sifu's progression is almost entirely skill-based. At first you will die a lot, but practice will lead to perfection and eventually you will succeed. And this progression system rewards diligent training and will truly make you feel like a master of your art. Diablo 4 drops you into the brutal world of Sanctuary, a realm plagued by an eternal war between angels and demons. After choosing one of 5 classes, you'll have to fight your way through endless hordes of monsters, upgrading your skills and equipment as you go. Diablo 4 is constantly being improved with each new season, adding tons of new mechanics, content, and balancing to the game. Diablo 4 has an amazing backstory as is par for the course for this franchise. Diablo 4's action combat is extremely satisfying, and when you get a new legendary or unique item for your build, you can instantly feel the increase in power. Final Fantasy XVI is the natural progression for the series as Final Fantasy shifts into immersive storytelling through cinematic cutscenes and action-packed gameplay. While some fans still lament the transition away from turn-based combat, between this and Final Fantasy VII Remake, action RPG fans are eating good. Final Fantasy XVI is more about its world and setting than anything else. Powerful kingdoms rule over the Mother Crystals, massive crystalline formations that supply ether to the world and enable certain individuals to use magic. As you unravel the mysteries surrounding these Mother Crystals and the powers that control them, you'll have to contend with threats that could redefine humanity's future. Horizon Forbidden West is a sequel to the original 2017 game, featuring a more expansive world, new machines to fight, and an engaging new story to uncover. Forbidden West has some of the most beautiful graphics on the PS5, with its incredibly detailed and vivid environments and stunning new monster designs. If you're a fan of the first game, Forbidden West is a must-play. Everything you loved about the original is here, tons of things to explore, fun gameplay, and a gripping story. There's just more of it. Playing on the PS5 is also one of the best ways to experience this game, with the additions of details like adapted triggers and haptic feedback making you even more immersed in the world of Horizon. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is an essential action RPG for Star Wars fans. Even players only tangentially familiar with Star Wars will have a lot to appreciate in this game. From its fast, satisfying combat to its rewarding exploration and story, Fallen Order ticks all the boxes. You take the role of Cal Kestis, a Jedi Padawan in hiding during the Empire's Inquisition shortly after the events of Revenge of the Sith. While on the run from the Inquisition, you'll have to band together with other survivors and attempt to rebuild the Jedi Order. In Stellar Blade, you play as Eve on a mission to retake Earth from the mysterious creatures called Naytiba. While exploring the ruins of Earth, you'll have to band together with the people of its last remaining city, Xion, in order to survive. Stellar Blade takes a fairly standard approach to the action RPG formula, but its top-notch visuals and fast-paced combat make the sense that you've seen this all before easier to ignore. In the, if you love slashing through enemies, upgrading and training your abilities, and collecting items in hidden spots, Stellar Blade is definitely worth playing. Granblue Fantasy Relink is an action RPG set in the expansive world of Granblue Fantasy. Following the captain of the Grand Cipher, you'll explore islands in the sky on a quest to find your lost friend. Relink offers a ton of different playable characters, each with their own playstyle, weapons to grind for, and skill trees to upgrade. Overall, Relink is an extremely satisfying game to play. The combat is smooth and engaging, the story and characters are charming, and the endgame grinds are worthwhile and fun. If you're looking for an ARPG to play for hundreds of hours after the credits roll, Granblue Fantasy Relink is definitely one of the best options on the PS5. The Rise of the Ronin is an ARPG set during the Boshin War near the end of the Edo period in Japan. The game takes place in Yokohama, Edo, and Kyoto as you follow the Blade Twins on their quest to overthrow the shogunate. Using weapons commonly found during this time period, like katanas, longbows, and various firearms, you and your twin will explore the historic ports of Yokohama and the scenic Japanese countryside as you fight the Tokugawa shogunate. Rise of the Ronin offers an incredibly smooth gameplay experience as well as an interesting setting that was pivotal in the history of Japan. Dragon's Dogma 2 is an open-world action RPG where you play as the Arisen, a chosen hero whose heart has been stolen by a dragon. On a quest to not only kill the dragon and reclaim your heart, but pacify the civil unrest sweeping the nation, you will fight alongside pawns, mysterious beings from other worlds that serve only you. Dragon's Dogma's unique asynchronous multiplayer system allows you to summon other players' pawns to help you. They'll offer advice, guide you to your objective, and help you take down strong enemies. Similarly, your own main pawn will have their own journeys in other players' worlds, gaining knowledge that will further assist you. This, paired with its incredibly satisfying combat system, makes Dragon's Dogma 2 a truly one-of-a-kind experience. Cyberpunk 2077 is a massive game. Night City, the game's primary setting, is a fully developed world with so many characters, locations, and details that you could spend hours just wandering its streets. However, once you get into the combat and character building in Cyberpunk, you'll quickly understand what makes this game so great. With the 2 update, the skill and progression system was completely overhauled. You can build your character in a variety of ways, like a melee katana build, a knife juggling precision build, a net running hacker build, and so many more. Cyberpunk's outstanding storytelling and dialogue also can't be understated. The 2018 God of War is often considered one of the greatest video games, and its sequel, God of War Ragnaork, improves on it in almost every way. The second game in the Norse era of the God of War games, Ragnarok, centers around the titular Ragnarok event, which essentially spells the end of the world. Kratos and his son Atreus must once again embark on an adventure through Midgard to prevent Ragnarok. God of War's characteristic action combat is working overtime in this game, with different weapons to unlock and upgrade and tons of different options for killing enemies. Plus, the Valhalla roguelike mode offers even more to do once you've beaten the story. Ghost of Tsushima is unparalleled in its setting and immersion, not to mention its smooth, skill-based gameplay and great story. In Ghost of Tsushima, you play as Jin Sakai, a samurai who has lost everything in the Mongol invasion of Tsushima Island. Using every tool at your disposal, your quest is to nearly single-handedly take back the island from the Mongols. The game's historical and atmospheric setting provides the perfect place to hone your samurai skills as you explore Tsushima Island. Plus, there is an entirely separate multiplayer mode with tons of additional content. In the multiplayer Legends mode, you can team up with up to 3 other players and take down waves of Mongols and supernatural enemies alike using different abilities.